Back to my channel. This is another fuel mileage and regeneration report. I think this is my third one. I might make this a regular thing as I report fuel mileage and regens. So my fuel mileage chart has changed a little bit. I've added some additional columns. A regeneration start miles column, a regeneration complete miles column, total miles in regen complete, miles column, right? And then total miles between regen. So far I've had 4 active regens, and as I had anticipated, I had assumed, my assumptions so far seem to be valid. Regens happen roughly around the 500-mile mark-ish, right? With my 19 Ford and the 17 Ford that I had, it also would regen automatically at 500 miles. However, it would also regen between that, anywhere between 100 and 500 miles, usually around 250-mile mark, which is really irritating. So, example, let's say I drive 1,000 miles. Well, at the 500-mile mark, it would automatically go into regen. But it would also do another regen in between that 500 miles and the 1,000-mile mark. So let's just average it at, let's just say it's 750 miles. It would do regen. And then it would do another regen at 1,000 miles. And then it would do another regen at, 1,250 miles and so forth. So really irritated, would regen a lot. Well, this 2020 Ford, kind of like the Ram would go into automatic regen every 1,000 miles. I really liked that regen strategy. But the Ford with the 2020 it definitely goes to the active regen every 500 miles, at least from the 4 regens I've observed. But it does not go into regen in between that time, which is great because I can get better fuel mileage that way. And the regens on this 2020 seems to be less than the 19 Ford F250 I had, and definitely less than the 17 Ford that I had. So let's kind of get into this. So the first regen that I had observed was at 572 miles. It lasted to about 586. Total miles in regen was 14. This mileage in between regen, obviously, it hadn't regen before, so 572 miles, obviously. The second regen occurred at 1,084 miles. It was completed at 1,098, and it was in regen for 14 miles. Time between the first and second regen, or miles in between, was 498. The third regen, which occurred this week, happened at 1,596. It lasted to 1,613 miles. It was in a regen for 17 miles, and miles in between the second and third regen was another 498 miles. The fourth regen started at 2,110 miles. It completed at 2,126. It was in regen for 16 miles, and the total miles between the third and fourth regen was 497 miles. So I've also added remarks here. I'm anticipating my next regen to be roughly at around 2,626 miles. And I'm sure it'll be somewhere around that mark is when I can anticipate the next regen. So even though I don't like the truck regenerating every 500, I wish it had the Ram strategy, which was every 1,000. But still, I can anticipate when the regens are going to happen, and I can ensure that I'm on the highway. So that's what I really like about having predictable regen strategies. So let's look at the first regen, okay? First regen happened on the 18th of October, and my mileage, fuel mileage was 19.3. I still managed to get 19 miles to the gallon, even in a regen, which is really good. The second regen was actually the best so far. Even in a regen, I still got, hand calculated by the way, 21.9 miles to the gallon. If you want to be like TFL Truck, just round it up, 22 miles to the gallon, right? Really good. My third regen was mostly a case of mixed driving. As you can see here, it was on 27th of October. This was mostly mixed driving, as in mostly city driving with some highway. This regen, and because I anticipated when the regen would occur, I ensured that I was on the highway the entire time, that when I knew it was going to start, and so I can remain on the highway to complete a full regen, right? Because you want to avoid shutting down the truck in the middle of a regen. You want to avoid that. But anyways, this third regen, I got 18.4 miles to the gallon. Now this fourth regen, this was mostly all city driving. And as you can see, I still averaged above 15 miles of the gallon, which anything above 15 is, to me, is good. It's what's amber, right? So it's good. 16.4 miles of the gallon. Now, as I got closer to, because you see here, the third regen ended at 1,613 miles. So I was anticipating the truck to go into regen roughly around 2,113, 15-ish miles. So when I got to 2,100 miles, I started driving on the highway to ensure that it would happen on the highway, and I knew it was going to happen. So, and sure enough, it did. At 2,110 miles, the truck went into an active regen. But this day, 31 October, this was actually mostly city driving. I went to like the store. My girlfriend and I went to like Cracker Barrel, and it was a lot of just kind of in-town shopping type driving, because she needed to go buy some things. But anyways, but you see here, it's still, so far this is the worst mileage, 16.4 miles a gallon, which isn't bad compared to my 19 Ford that I had. I think the worst was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 miles a gallon. Might have been 14, I don't know, but it was in the red. So for me, anything under 15 miles a gallon is like red. That's, not good fuel mileage. 15 to roughly 18 is amber, so that's okay. It's okay fuel mileage. 18 and up is green. Anything green for me is good. It's really, really good. So far to date, since I got the truck, ever since I bought the truck, right, around the 17th of October, to now, the truck has averaged for the month of October 19.1 miles to the gallon. For the latter half of October that I had this truck, I've averaged 19.1 miles to the gallon, and that's really good. Really good. I've driven a total of 2,200 miles ish, a little over 220 miles, and I've spent roughly $266 in fuel. So that, for me, this is really good. Is it as good as the Ram? No, but the Ram is a straight six, so it has less cylinders, right? This is a V8. So with the V8 and the fact that it's got the 10-speed automatic, I think it has significantly helped in terms of fuel mileage compared to the 19 Ford and the 17 Ford. Maybe I'll do a video comparing all three of those. But so far it's really good, and yeah, so you can expect. Oh, here's another thing: total miles in regen. I wanted to show this too. So far, out of the 2,200 miles, 2,246 miles that I've driven this truck, the total time that it's been in regen is 61 miles. 61 miles in regen. And combine all that together, the truck has averaged so far 19.1 miles to the gallon. That's really good. That's not bad, folks. That's not bad. So, does emissions hurt fuel mileage? It does, to an extent. It does. However, the overall average, for at least for me, this latter half of October, since I've had the truck, I have averaged 19.1 miles to the gallon. That's pretty good. Even some of the older trucks, the 7.3s, the 6.0s, the 5.9 Cummins, and so forth, 19 miles to the gallon was actually on the higher end of fuel mileage. Even back then, when I had my first Dodge Ram Cummins diesel, it was a 1999, and now that truck, I built that truck to get really good fuel mileage, okay? But the average person, to get anything above 18 miles to the gallon was good. Even I remember, debates and arguments online at Turbo Diesel Register, people saying, "Oh, you can't get 20 miles. It's hard to get 20 miles to the gallon." But it's funny how people now, they look back, "Oh yeah, you could easily get 20 miles." Now I could get 20 miles to the gallon, and I've proven that with my fuel mileage reports because of this the way I drive. But the average Joe, no. Okay. So we are modern diesels today get really good fuel mileage, even with emissions. So you can get clean air. Yes, I understand that EGR, regenerations, all this stuff sucks. I hate it too. Trust me, I hate emissions. However, I also want to be compliant with the law, and I am not going to delete these trucks. But anyways, that's me and what I feel and how I will operate my vehicle. How what you do is that's up to you. But anyways, so these modern diesels get just as good or better fuel mileage than pre-emissions trucks. So, and you know, if you want to look back on fuel, I mean, how many people do you know do fuel mileage reports like this and actually report it online? I'm sure there are people out there who do these kind of like, data logging, um, but you don't really see them online. I think I'm like the only one that's doing this type of report online and showing it online. Now there is Fuely.com, right? But are people, you know, always reporting accurate numbers? I don't know, or regularly? I don't know. But go back and look, see what the 7.3. If anyone's reporting on the older diesels, see what they're getting in terms of fuel mileage. I guarantee you, you're going to see mostly. It's not going to be in the 20s as an average for everyone that's reporting. It's not going to be in the 20s. So, but anyways, yeah, that's my report. Sorry for the rambling, but my channel, I can do whatever I want, right? And if you don't like what I have to post, I have comments turned off for a reason, because it's my channel. I don't need snarky little comments from children who just say things like delete. Okay, I understand the reason to delete. I wish I could, but I'm not going to. So, and the fact that I don't seem to own these trucks more than a year anyways, I don't see the benefit in deleting, especially when I can still get over 20 miles of the gallon, as you can see here on the 23rd of October, on the 25th of October, on the 30th of October, and on the 31st of October, I can still get over 20 miles to the gallon with an overall average of 19. Pretty good. So anyways, hope this video is helpful. I will continue to report on my fuel mileage and regen observations. Eventually, I might stop observing regens because it is a little irritating having to continually monitor this. I use my EasyLink, turn my EasyLink on when I start driving, and I just monitor the gauges and the temperatures and and all that stuff, and it just gets kind of annoying. I just want to be able to drive and not think about that, but I'm doing it so I can put this report out there so that people can see and not have to worry about emissions and fuel mileage and this, that, and another thing, so. And to prove another point, some people say, I haven't experienced regen in like 5,000 miles. My truck has never regened. No, it has. It regens every 500 miles, regardless. Roughly around 500 miles. Every modern diesel will regen. Whether it's at 250 miles, 500 miles, or in the case of Ram, it will automatically do it at 1,000 miles. It'll regen. You just don't know it. So, but anyways, okay. So that's my video. Enjoy, and I will continue to make more of these.